Okay, so this video is just going to be a talking video, and I want to talk to bass players, especially young bass players and new bass players. And I want to talk to you about these two basses and about the journey that I've taken to get to these two basses. This is a 57 Precision Fender Custom Shop with a maple fingerboard, and that is a 60 Precision Fender Custom Shop with a rosewood fingerboard. Now, I'm hoping to save you some time. I started playing the bass in 1974 when I was 14 years old, and I'm 60 years old now. And I've had many, many basses. I probably had over 50, 60, 70 basses in my life. And my very first bass was in 1974, was a 1972 Fender Jazz bass. Natural finish, beautiful block inlays. I love that bass. And I had that bass even when I went to college. I went away to college, and I wound up selling that bass to a friend of mine for $250. And he was happy to get the bass, and I needed the money, is what I needed. So from that point on, I was on a quest, a lifelong quest to find that perfect bass, that perfect rig, that perfect bass tone, that perfect bass growl, just like you and just like every other bass player. And so I recently came to these two basses. These are my only two basses at this point, and it occurred to me that I have a little story to tell you. And again, I'm hoping to save you some time and also give you sort of a message for me in terms of how to get to that best bass for you. So I've had many basses, as I said. I have had 4-string basses, 5-string basses. I've had $300 Ibanez basses. I've had basses that cost much, much more than that from luthiers like Ken Smith and Michael Tobias and Alembic and many others. I had one of the very first Ned Steinberger XL2A basses that he handed to me. I bought basses directly from Joe Zahn. I mean, modulus basses. The list just goes on and on. But the whole Fender thing is interesting. I was always a Fender Jazz player. I didn't even look at a Fender Precision bass. I just refused. Probably the same reason as a tennis player, I refused to walk onto a golf course, right? But I was always a Fender Jazz player, and I'm not sure why. I picked up my first bass after basically falling in love with Verdine White and Earth, Wind & Fire. He's the guy who enticed me into playing the bass in the first place. But so as we don't get too deep here, I finally, after years and years and years of buying basses and playing basses and selling basses and doing it again and again, I finally realized that it was the Fender Precision tone that I wanted after all. 4-string, passive, Fender Precision tone, the simple passive tone of a Fender Precision bass. Now, I realize they're a lot of money, and so I feel that if you're a young player or a new player and you're looking for that great bass, play an Ibanez or play a $300-400 bass. Save your money until you can afford the Fender Custom Shop bass. I realize there are people out there who will say, I don't like those basses, I want an Alembic or I want a Wall or what have you. I understand that. But for me personally, this was the journey. I suspect that these two basses will be my last two basses and will probably outlive me. Now, you might say, well, why do you need two? Right? And the answer is very simple. There's a world of difference between the maple fingerboard for me and the rosewood fingerboard. That world is clear to me. You may be able to get away with one and just play that bass for the rest of your life, but so my message to you is save your money. Don't buy and sell basses. Play them if you want. Go to the Guitar Center, whatever you can get them, and play the basses. But don't buy them. Just save your money until you can get the right bass, and then stay with that bass forever. Hopefully buy it new, because you don't know where that truss rod has been. You don't know how many turns it's taken, how many cranks it's absorbed, and so one of the reasons I don't buy used basses is because I want to understand that neck and that truss rod. I want to know what's been turned and when. So that's my message for you. I'm also going to do a video about this bi-amped rig. This is a bi-amp situation. It's got two Mesa Boogie rigs that are actually bi-amped via the effects loop out on the clean amp that goes into the dirty amp with the pedals attached. I'll do a separate video on that when I have some time, but for now, that's my message and I hope it helps.